The 2021 NBA Draft just wrapped up, so you guys already know I'm bringing you the biggest winners and losers of the night. If you guys like the content, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. Let's try to get 7,000 likes on today's video, and let's hop into it. Let's start this off with the most obvious winner, the Detroit Pistons. We've seen some crazy surprise selections in the draft, and luckily for Pistons fans, we didn't see that at number 1. There was reports of some insane offers from teams like the Thunder trying to get to the top pick, but the Pistons didn't budge and decided to not let anyone else get their hands on Cunningham, a player that legitimately could be an all-NBA guy at the next level. This team has some super exciting young talent, such as their all-rookie team members this past year, Saddiq Bey and Isaiah Stewart. They shouldn't be in a rebuild for too much longer. The Rockets went Jalen Green at 2, so they're winners. Early on in the draft process, Evan Mobley was the heavy favorite to go at number 2, but as we got closer and closer to tonight, that changed. As good of a prospect that Mobley is, Jalen Green's scoring upside makes him the clear number 2 player in this class. I didn't love them giving up 2 firsts for 16 to get Alperen Sengun, but landing Green, then getting Usman Garuba and Josh Christopher at 23 and 24, I really love what they pulled off tonight. I think the biggest winner that we just didn't expect going into the draft is the Orlando Magic. Somehow, someway, Jalen Suggs was on the board at 5 after the Raptors, who were the heavy favorite to select him, decided to go with Scottie Barnes. This is without a doubt a massive, massive steal. The Orlando Magic weren't really looking for a point guard going into the night. They drafted Cole Anthony a year ago and also paid Markelle Fultz. But when a player like Jalen Suggs is on the board, you don't think about it and you take him. This season at Gonzaga, he was the starting point guard for a team that was 1 game shy of a perfect season. He averaged 14 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists on solid efficiency. They also held the 8th overall pick, and they decided to go with Franz Wagner, a young forward out of Michigan that has made a name for himself with his high IQ on both ends. His game still has a ways to go in a lot of areas, but he was projected to go in this area and has great upside. Walking away with these two makes the Magic some of the biggest winners in this draft. Another team that really jumps out is the Charlotte Hornets, who were able to get James Bouknight at 12. He's a 6'5" shooting guard with a true gift at scoring off the dribble. He put on a show in his sophomore season at UConn, and his numbers don't tell the full story. Apparently, he was incredible in anything that involved shooting the ball during the pre-draft process. As we got closer and closer to draft night, it was really looking like he wasn't going to be on the board past the 7th overall pick in the draft, with the Thunder at 6 being the heavy favorite. The Hornets were able to get him at 11, and he projects to be the perfect fit alongside LaMelo Ball. LaMelo is a great young player, but it's hard to imagine him ever being a very high-volume scorer. Bouknight could really end up fitting that role for this team. If this pick works out, man, is this going to be a fun team to watch. They weren't done for the night, though. I think everyone thought this team was going to be going with a big man at 12, but with Bouknight on the board, they couldn't pass on the opportunity, so they traded back into the first round with the Knicks and grabbed Texas center Kai Jones. It's a great time to be a Hornets fan. I have to have the Thunder as winners. I see y'all's comments about me being a biased Thunder fan, but I truly think they're winners with Scottie Barnes and Jalen Suggs off the board. That was projected. There was no obvious selection at 6. Most thought James Bouknight was gonna be the selection. He ended up falling to 11. They decided to go with Josh Giddey. This team is far from ready to compete, and they know that. So they made the right decision by drafting for upside, and man, does Giddey have a lot of that. He's a 6'8" point guard that tore up the Australian NBL. Does that sound familiar? They weren't done for the night. I had a feeling they weren't going to be making 3 first-round selections, and I was right. They traded their 16th pick to the Rockets for 2 future first-round picks. That's an insane return. It's looking like those picks have some lottery protections on them, but that doesn't matter. Presti holds on to his crazy future draft pick pool, putting them in an amazing position to make trades down the line. With their 18th pick, they decided to go with Florida's Terrence Mann. It's looking like this team went into the draft with the goal to give SGA a long-term backcourt partner. There were so many options here and really nothing to complain about with this selection, so as a Thunder fan, I'm really happy with the outcome overall. Before getting into the losers, I want to talk about a team I'm undecided on, and that's the Golden State Warriors. The second they made a selection at 7, my instinct was to have them as big losers. This is a team trying to get back to competing for a title next year, so the expectations were that they were going to be making moves involving these selections, but a deal didn't go down, and they ended up making selections. But given who they selected, I thought about having them as winners. I wasn't the biggest fan of Kuminga in this draft, but that was more so when he was being talked about as a top 5 pick. Getting him at 7 is incredible value. He's an athletic freak that at one point was the top player in his high school class. He can bring this team insane defensive versatility immediately, and if he can grow on the offensive side, he has the chance to be one of the best players from this draft. In my official mock draft, I had them going with Moses Moody at 7. To my surprise, and I think the surprise of most, they were able to get him with the 14th pick, the last pick of the lottery. For a team trying to compete at the top of the league, he's one of the few prospects that can come in and bring in a ton of value as a 3-and-D wing, but has the upside to be much more than that going forward. Man, do we have some losers in this draft. I gotta start it off with the Raptors. Now, I don't think the Raptors are close to the biggest loser in this draft, but I think it's safe to say Jalen Suggs should have been the 4th overall pick. I love Scottie Barnes as a prospect. I was really hoping that the Thunder could get their hands on him, but based on what we know today, in the position that this Raptors team is in, Suggs was the pick. This selection really puts urgency to this Pascal Siakam situation. As fun as it is to think about how crazy the defensive duo of OG Anunoby and Scottie Barnes could be, this selection really puts this team in a questionable position going forward. Then you've got the Sacramento Kings, who decided to go with Davion Mitchell with the 9th overall pick in the draft. I really like Davion Mitchell. It's hard not to. He just led Baylor to an NCAA title, posting crazy efficiency while being one, if not the top, on-ball defender in the country. And while in most cases, I really believe in talent over fit, this is not one of those cases. Mitchell is one of the oldest top picks in the last 20 years, going to a team that already has 2 amazing young point guards. Sure, this team needs depth, and Halliburton has no problem playing the 2, but that doesn't change the fact this selection is a serious head-scratcher. Then you've got the Grizzlies, who decided to go with Zaire Williams at 10. The Grizzlies moved up from 17 earlier in the week and are getting a guy that was probably going to be on the board at 17. He was a top recruit out of high school, but really disappointed in his freshman season at Stanford. The potential is definitely there, there's no question about that. But reaching at 10 after making that trade really makes the Pelicans look like even bigger winners than they already were after that trade happened. The Spurs were at 12, and they probably had the biggest reach of the whole night, taking the youngest player in the draft, Joshua Primo. Primo's a 6'6" guard out of Alabama that this season averaged just 8 points a game. This is a purely potential player. This was a massive shocker. I couldn't find a single mock draft that had him even going in the 1st round. I'm all for getting the guy you want, but you have to have some common sense. The Thunder traded 16 for 2 future 1st rounders. Ask yourself, what is the value of Joshua Primo today? I can safely tell you it's nowhere near 2 future 1st round picks, despite the protections on those selections. Lastly, I want to mention just some quick winners and losers I had. The Hawks were able to get Jalen Johnson with the 20th pick in the draft. With the question marks surrounding his decision to leave Duke midway through the season, we saw him slip in the board, but there's no denying the potential, so the Hawks took advantage, and I love it. The Clippers traded from the 25th pick to the 21st pick. They were able to grab Keon Johnson. Regardless of fit or anything like that, this is insane value. This is a guy I think most were expecting to go inside the lottery, backed by his insane record-breaking 48-inch max vertical. Then you've got the Knicks. I've got them as losers. I feel bad for Knicks fans. They trade the 19th pick, and then at 21 with Keon Johnson on the board, they go back to 25, getting just a 2nd round pick in return. They decided to go with Quentin Grimes, who I really like, but overall, they are losers. That's the video, guys. I want to know your thoughts in the comments below. Who's your biggest winner? Who's your biggest loser? If you liked the video, smash the like button, smash the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.